Hello children, today I have come to you with another magical story of Coco. This is story number 7 and its name is The Apple Tree Promise. The next morning, Coco trotted straight to the old apple tree near the fence. Its branches gave a soft, waiting rustle. Coco's blue collar gave one bright shimmer. "I came," Coco said. From above came a quick laugh. "Good, because I came too." Milo zipped down the trunk and landed beside him. "I was not going to miss a talking tree day." Hazel glided in next and settled on a low branch. "Some places feel magical before anything happens," she said. Coco tipped his head back at the tree. "Tenzi said it was calling me." The leaves gave another hush-hush sound, as if the tree had heard that. A tiny squeaky voice called, "Down here, please, down here." At the edge of a thick root stood a line of ants. They were hurrying in small circles, bumping into pebbles, turning around and hurrying the wrong way again. One ant climbed onto the curled leaf and waved both tiny front legs. "Thank goodness you are here." "I am Coco," he said. "What happened?" "I am Captain Pip," said the ant. "Last night's storm washed away our trail. We went out to gather breakfast, and now half of our family can't find the way back to the nest." Coco looked around. The ground under the tree was still damp. Little streams had cut through the dirt and left tiny ridges and puddles. To the ants, it looked huge. Coco's collar glowed warm against his neck. He knew this feeling. Someone needed help, and the answer was close, but not close enough yet. Coco carefully circled the tree roots. He saw bits of leaf, one broken twig, and a line in the dirt where rainwater had rushed through during the night. "Where does your nest open?" he asked. Captain Pip pointed to a little crack near the tree root. "There." "And where were you gathering?" "By the stepping stones," said another ant. "There were sweet crumbs from yesterday." Milo's ears popped up. So they know where they started and where they need to go. They just lost the road in the middle. Captain Pip let out a deep ant-sized sigh. Exactly. Coco studied the washed-out patch again. Their neat trail had been broken in 3 places. One part ended at a muddy dip. Another disappeared under a flap of wet bark. The last part stopped at the root and the place where rain had craved a tiny ditch. "Maybe they should just start a brand new nest," Milo said. All the ants gasped at once. No, Milo said quickly. "That was only a loud idea." Coco kept thinking. The ants did not need a new nest. They needed their path back. "We can rebuild the trail," Coco said. Captain Pip stared up at him. "Can we?" "Maybe with safe steps," Coco said. Milo jumped to attention. "I love safe steps." Coco pointed with his nose. "First, we make crossing places. Then, we mark the path with tiny crumbs, so the ants can follow it again." Captain Pip straightened. "Ants are very good at following crumbs." "Perfect," said Coco. They got to work. Milo scampered to the porch and came back with the smallest dry cracker crumbs. he could find under the outdoor table. Then he brought another, then another. I am carrying breakfast and rescue supplies at the same time, he announced. Coco nudged a white dry leaf across the muddy dip until it lay flat like a little bridge. Hazel used her beak to lift the flap of wet bark, just enough for Captain Pip's helpers to smooth the dirt beneath it. Then Coco rolled a tiny pebble into the ditch by the root. It was enough to make a safe stepping place. Try this part, he said. Captain Pip led the first line of ants across the leaf bridge, under the bark flap and over the pebbles at the root. Captain Pip reached the far side and spun in a happy circle. It works! For a moment, Coco thought it was solved. Then a new cry rose from other side of the root. Wait for us. A second group of ants came hurrying around a clump of clover. They were carrying a crumb almost as big as a marble to them, and they could not fit it over the pebble step. Milo slapped both paws over his cheeks. There is always one more problem. Captain Pip looked worried. That is the breakfast team. If they turn too sharply, they will lose the crumb into the ditch. Coco stared at the little pebble crossing. It was good enough for walking ants, but not for ants carrying food. And the family still needed the path home. Hazel spoke softly. A promise keeps going until everyone arrives. Coco looked up at the old apple tree. Its leaves rustled once more, and a small brown stem dropped near his paw. He blinked. It was thin, light, and straight. Milo, he said, put that over the ditch. Milo dragged the stem into place like a tiny log brick. Milo dragged the stem into place like a tiny log bridge. Now the path was wide enough for the food team. The ants moved carefully, 6 in front and 6 behind, carrying the crumb across the stem bridge, over the leaf, under the bark, and all the way to the nest crack at the root. When the last ant stepped through, Captain Pip lifted both front legs high. Home! He shouted. The whole ant family wiggled with joy. Coco sat back on the grass, warm and pleased. The ants had lost their trail after the storm, and together they had built a new safe way home with crumbs, a leaf bridge, a stem bridge, and one helpful pebble. Captain Pip marched up to Coco's paw. We will remember this kindness for a long time. Then the old apple tree gave a gentle shiver. Coco looked up just as one red apple dropped from a low branch. Flop! It landed in the grass, split, nearly opened and rolled apart. Inside, tucked in the middle, was a seed unlike any Coco had ever seen. It was shiny and golden. Milo whispered, "Well, apples usually do not do that." Hazel's eyes turned soft. "No," she said, "but promises might." Coco stepped closer. The golden seed gave off the tiniest hum, and his blue collar answered with a glow. Captain Pip pointed one tiny leg. The tree was waiting for you to help first. Coco carefully picked up the golden seed. It felt warm, like sunshine, saved for later. "What do I do with it?" Coco asked. Before anyone could answer, the seed tipped in his paw and turned ever so slightly towards the golden gate. Milo saw it too. "Did you see that?" Hazel opened her wings. "Then the next clue is ready." Coco looked from the golden seed to the gate, then back at the old apple tree. "Thank you," he said quietly. The leaves rustled once, almost like a pleased reply. Coco tucked the golden seed close and smiled up at his friends. "Come on," he said. "I think the garden gate has a story to tell." Okay, children, with this we have reached to the end of this story. Now I'll ask few questions as usual. Question number 1. Why were Captain Pip and ants having trouble under the apple tree? Absolutely right. Last night there was a big storm, and there in that storm, Captain Pip and its ants have lost their way to the apple tree. Here comes question number 2. What things did Coco and his friends use to make a safe path home? 100% correct. Coco and his friends figured out where the lost ants are and also the easiest route to reach the nest. They carefully threw the crumbs all over to help the ants to reach their nest. They also made a stem bridge with the help of a leaf and under the bark so that the ants can reach the nest in the crack of the root. Question number 3. Why do you think the golden seed pointed towards the golden gate? As usual, you all know it, that we will come to know about this in the next story. Bye for now.